The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're so excited to have you here to be talking about post-pandemic recruiting practices. And I don't know about post-pandemic. It seems like it's ongoing. We keep ready for it to be. We would like it to be in the rear view, but it's not quite there yet. My partner in crime, Judy LaDeur, is going to be our coach today. Hey, Judy.
Hey there, Julie. How you doing? I agree with you. Like 2 weeks ago when we created the title, it was post-pandemic. Now I feel like it's like pre-pandemic too.
Right? It's a little crazy. It's feeling a little stressful for sure. Those of you coming in, you can use that chat there to, tell us where you're from and what you hope to get out of today. We do have the Q&A panel as well. If you have questions that you'd like to ask today, we're going to get to as many as we can at the end. If that sounds good to you, I will moderate the questions in the chat. And of course, we'll be chatting back and forth. But we are ready to get started. So Judy, if you're ready, we do have a couple minutes, but I think we can chat a little bit.
Great, excellent. Yeah, it has been crazy, obviously. Every broker I talk to says that they have never in their entire life, gone through a more stressful 15 months, 18 months really by now. And mostly it's just because it's filled with zigs and zags and changes. And, as a broker owner, you try to determine what investments do I need to make now? Is this a short-term thing? Is this a long-term thing? And so we just want to take a look at kind of what's been happening in the marketplace. What are some the experts saying as far as wise decisions and investments moving forward, and a little bit about the real estate industry as well. So I just want to start with the fact that, as all of you know, we've always had very definite recruiting seasons for as long as I've been in the recruiting arena, since about 1980. And this was really the last year and a half those seasons shifted. And what do we mean by that? Well, typically recruiting season is always when an agent's inventory is low. So typically the end of August, 1st of September, as they're coming off a summer break, end of December, 1st of January, brokers put a lot of attention, effort, and dollars into recruiting agents during those times, because the majority of agents will make a move when inventory is low. What we are now running into, which has been pretty frustrating for brokers to kind of figure this out, is inventory is at an all-time low, and it has been for a really long time. It just consistently stays at an all-time low, but agents have a lot of pending business and still a lot of things going on, and we'll talk about something else here in just a second, but it's not as though we've had a specific recruiting season for that past year and a half. It's just been agents leaving when they're not happy and looking for a company that is making the adjustments they need to in this market in order to support their business. We are seeing that office culture is really, really important, as well as meeting the needs of the agents. And I think obviously that just comes from being, shut down, kept out of the office for so long. People are looking at, the agents, the culture, the office itself in a little bit different light. Realtor, the good news though, Realtor.com has seen a decline in time on markets. It's slowed down for the first time. Actually, I just got the update. So the update is 6 months now, meaning that for the first time in over a year, about 15 months, instead of having multiple offers on a property, we might be having a property when it hits the market, but homes are starting to stay on the market for a little bit longer. That means that we potentially have some listing inventory that's going to start to build up. And I don't have this as one of the talking points, but just this week, something else has come to my attention that we just want to make you aware of. You might already be aware of this. Companies are recalling their virtual employees. And I guess, it's funny because, my focus, like yours, has been on real estate for the last year and a half, and I didn't really understand what that meant at first. But
Right.
I guess, right, Julie, I don't know if you've heard this or not too, but I guess going back a year ago, companies made the decision with their employees, okay, we're going to let you work virtually, which is why so many people went out and bought different houses. Now, I'm thinking they just bought a bigger house with a home office in the same community. What I've come to realize is that, let's say, Julie, you're living down in Florida, maybe you think, hey, you know what, if I'm working virtually, I think we'll get that little cabin in North Carolina we've always wanted.
Right.
And so you've got employees all across the country that literally moved to other states and, bought these places. And right now, as of this week, a lot of them are bailing on those closings. They're backing out because companies are saying, hey, sorry, we thought we were going to keep you remote, but we're having to pull you back in. I personally think that's a great thing because I think customer service has been lousy since COVID started. I don't think that in general, the whole let everybody work from their house thing has worked out. And apparently, just again, very recently, companies are making the same decisions. And so people that have pending sales are closing them. Other people are hustling to get them right back on the market because they are being called back into work in the actual office.
I had not heard that at all. I mean, it makes sense, right? But in workplaces are opening up, and obviously, there's a lot of industries that require people to be in person, but
and I guess
makes sense.
Yeah, I guess like you said, for me, I thought, okay, if a company said to a person you can work virtually from home, they were just either in their home or getting, home close by. But apparently that wasn't the case because it wasn't a tentative thing. Companies had committed to either permanently staying virtual or being virtual for somewhere between 2 and 4 years. And so a lot of people made the decision to go ahead and buy real estate based on that. So we may see some of those homes coming back on the market. So again, we need inventory, so we'll take everything we can get.
Right, exactly. We like the idea of more inventory for sure. I
must have put that on the thing last night. Maybe I forgot. So yeah, there it is. Sales of fun part because employees being brought back to work. But the big thing that we want to make everyone aware of the fact that July was a really frustrating month for a lot of brokers, a lot of recruiters. Everyone said the same thing to me. Tons of cancellations. Agents they're just taking a holiday. They're taking a break. And we're seeing that everywhere throughout the United States and Canada. Just that 15 months of nonstop activity has caused them to finally take pause and think, okay, enough's enough. We're open enough to take a holiday with the family. So before September arrives, we're taking some time off. That's good from a recruiting standpoint. That means once they stop and their business is somewhat slow, it makes it a great time for you to recruit as we come into the end of August and the 1st of September. And there's obviously that awareness of what's valuable and needed to move as we move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I found some great tools. I was going to put it in here and then I couldn't find it. But what we're seeing is a lot of companies are creating these really cool programs that allow training to take place kind of virtually and in office. A lot of interactive communication, online meetings, stuff like that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Mm-hmm.
But technology is definitely going to rule as we move forward because technology is what allows us to do business regardless of what happens, and obviously, as we all know, what's happening in the world varies from state to state. It varies in the US and Canada. It's shutdowns, it's lockdowns. Everybody's got their own set of rules. You even have counties within states creating different rules. So every broker just has to really be aware of, what's happening in their state, what's happening in their marketplace, so that they're prepared, with the technology and tools that it takes to keep moving forward.
I don't think that's a genie that's going to go back in the bottle, right? So, I mean, now that we've spent a year and a half really learning to do recruiting interviews virtually and helping agents do what they do virtually, I don't know that that's going to go completely back. Yes, we want to, we want to be in person and we want to do that. There's a lot of humanness to being a real estate agent. But I also think that there is, and I think we talked about this a few webinars ago, that one of the biggest disruptors out there is going to be AI, and is going to be some of this
Mhm.
programs out there, right? So one of the
Right.
things that we have to do is, as real estate professionals, is to really bring our humanity back to the surface, even if we're doing that virtually, right? So brokers and
Exactly.
agents all need to continue to grow and learn with technology as it changes. And I mean, look how much that has morphed over the last year, right? So we
I know.
never saw the kind of technology that we did. But what we taught ourselves is that, wow, we can do anything. Agents that
Right.
didn't know what a URL was, all of a sudden they're figuring it out. They're doing Zoom and they're learning. I can not only do, I can do Zoom with my clients, but I can also Zoom with my grandkids. Like it's, there was a lot of positives in the way
Mhm.
technology was forced upon us, right?
Exactly. And you're exactly right, Julie. We're never going to put that genie right back in the bottle. But interestingly enough, um, I think we will continue to see hybrids of even where we're at right now.
I think so
Uh,
too.
there's definitely going to be this neutral ground that comes out when it's all over, because agents are flooding back into the offices, and agents are more than ever, finding value in that, networking with their coworkers and have that broker support. And no one liked having Zoom interviews. No one really felt that they were as comfortable with that. The results weren't as good.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the option we had to do. Now, but what the awareness is a Zoom interview still an option going forward? Absolutely. Sometimes due to distance or other variable factors, maybe the Zoom interview is gonna, is always gonna be your plan B. But
But it's
I
good to
think
have that
that,
option, right? It's good to make sure that
yeah,
as a broker, you're not limiting yourself or your prospects to how you can meet. So having more
right.
than one option on the table is a beautiful thing.
And here's another thing that I thought about that everyone I've said it to, kind of has the like, oh my gosh, you're right. And this is a retention and recruiting point. And I've termed it free agents. We had a lot of free agents entering the market and this next year. And here's what I mean by that. 3 years ago, and I don't remember, like I'm sure you'll remember this, Julie, all of our webinars 3 years ago were on the disruptors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of the new companies that were coming up then, of course, many of the disruptors then either aren't even in business or they're not really that big of a deal right now. One of the disruptors that we had 3 years ago were several of the companies were writing large checks to agents to
Right.
make them move their company with a 3-year contract, typically. And and I started thinking about that because as more and more brokers that I'm working with are telling me, okay, I'm talking to this agent, they were locked into this 3-year contract, but their date is September 10th and they can move once September 10th comes. I thought we've never had that scenario in real estate, because basically when an agent goes to work for a broker, the assumption is it's going to be a long-term relationship.
Right.
But 3 years ago, we had thousands of agents that were basically bought for a 3-year period of time.
They were. That's
And
right.
the companies, yeah, so the companies that bought them was just kind of give us 3 years and make your decision. And so what's the mentality of all those agents is that they're going to be free agents in the market to take a look around after 3 years and decide where they want to be. And think about that. Like, now if you think of it from that standpoint, if you're a company that wrote checks to agents to stay for 3 years, but they had that date and in their mind, they only had to stay 3 years and then they'd get to become a free agent, then that's a retention issue for those companies right now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, it's
a
an eye
lot.
opener for everybody, right? 'Cause
That's right. A lot happened in 3 years. Who would have known 3 years ago, right? That you'd go through shutdown, things would be virtual, the needs of the agents would change. So if those companies didn't change with the needs of the agents, and we are seeing a lot of those agents that are under contract this is like the year that they're coming out. So those contracts are going to start coming due, and agents, basically they're just looking at where do I want to be now.
right.
They didn't move to those companies with a mindset of, hey, you know what, I got some money, I got to stay for 3 years, but I plan to stay forever. So it's interesting to hear the comments that agents have. Like a lot of them really never intended to necessarily make it a long-term move. It was just, I have to stay for 3 years,
Right.
or I have to get back the money. So therefore I'm going to stay for 3 years, and then I'll look at my options. And so, watch, for the, if you have companies in your marketplace that, if you have a lot of free agents coming into your market, that's why I'll be talking to you right now. If you have a lot of free agents that you as a company have coming up, you have contract terms coming up, then retention of those agents has to be really front and center, or real good chance you can lose them.
And your marketing should reflect that, right? Your marketing should reflect catering to those free agents. And if you've got a bean on who those people might be,
right.
You're going to want to make sure that you are positioning yourself as a resource for those agents. Because agents, I'm just going to hang my license and not expect anything in return. Those days are way gone, right? I mean, they're expecting training,
right.
They're expecting resources, they're expecting support tools.
Right.
And even if you're not bringing those in-house or have those in-house, you need to make sure that you've got those things in place that you can offer, even if those are third party.
Yeah. So kind of I think a learning point here though too for brokers, and the free agent concept is very present in the sporting arena. Like you have a
right.
baseball player, football player, whatever, soccer player, that you put them under contract for a period of time, and you as the sports company knows that they have to be happy at the end of that contract term in order to stay, but you also have to be happy with them, of course. And so we brought that concept into real estate. Not sure it's a good one. I'm not sure that I would want to put all the work and effort into bringing an agent on board for a short-term contract period, knowing that their mindset is somewhat of a sports player,
right.
But they're looking around as that contract's going due, thinking, okay, so where do I want to go next? Because it is a lot of work to recruit those really good top producing agents. So might be something to think about in the future for like companies. Is that really a smart idea or not?
Right.
But without a doubt, I think this is a great time to recruit, because there's a lot of things that we can do to help agents be successful right now as they're coming back into the offices. And again, we've got the first break in action we've had since COVID started. So it's been almost a year and a half. Break in the action. It's going to ramp up pretty quickly. But something, Julie, you and I have been talking about, at least for the past year, is that everything that we've seen through NAR shows that everyone in the world basically bases their decisions on ratings and results. If you're on Amazon, there's 100 lawnmowers, that pretty much are the same price, but everyone's going to take a look at, what has the highest rating, because that's the lawnmower everyone's had the best success with, the best experience with. We see that agents are placing more emphasis on the broker, the relationship they have with the broker, the agents in office, that office culture environment, talking to someone who works in that office to see how they feel about it, more so than we've ever seen before. So I think that's good news for brokers. It means that the money is less important in the equation right now, and that, but it also means that you have to spend extra time building that relationship with agents on social media platforms and calls and marketing and everything that you can do to let them know who you are as a company, who you are as a person, what your results are, how others feel about working there. And I just threw this in here just because a lot of what's happening in the buyer-seller world is happening in the world of recruiting. And the NAR member survey that just came out in June shows that buyers and sellers only talk to one agent before buying or selling, 77% of them, which is a 10% increase over the year before. That's a huge increase in 1 year. So when in 2019, when it was 67%, meaning 7 out of 10 sellers are just listing with someone they know or asking someone they know, who did you list with, and listing with that person without doing any research, that in 1 year, that number went up to 8.
Wow.
Now, 8 out of 10, right? Now, maybe it's because it's been a really scary time and no one wants to do it. And I don't know if you saw the for sale by owner stats. It was something insane, something like 97% of people chose to work with a realtor. So in the hottest market we've ever had, for sale by owners felt were the lowest it's ever been, right? So,
They need
in
it.
a yeah, they could have sold it on their own, but they were just like, like, things are too crazy right now. I just need an agent. So for sale by owners, we're almost non-existent. And buyers and sellers are going with someone who has already done a great job for someone else.
Right.
Agents are choosing brokers on similar criteria. So referrals from your agents are really important right now. Again, social media engagement, anything at all that you can do that helps the agents in the marketplace learn about you and your company and how you do business.
Well, let's talk about that agent referral just for a minute. So I actually just spoke with one of our profitable recruiter members last week, and we were talking about one of my favorite strategies of yours, which is to go to every agent on your team and ask them for one or two names of people that they've co-broked with over the last year, and let that they feel were exceptional, that they had a great experience with, they had a great attitude, they were very they were professional. So give me one or two names and why.
Right.
And that's one of the easiest calls you can make as a recruiter, right? I mean, it's so hard for many recruiters to pick up the phone, but man, that's an easy call, right? If I got your name from from Bob, and Bob told me that you were just amazing at keeping a deal together, that's a crazy easy call for me to make. Hey, hey, Judy, it's Julie with ABC Realty. I just spoke with Bob, and I was asking my agents who they had a great relationship with and who they had a great experience, and your name popped right up. And I just want to thank you as the owner of the company. Professionalism is definitely something that is valued and appreciated here, and just a heartfelt, not trying to sell them, but just calling you up and really giving somebody kudos and appreciation. Chances are their own broker is not doing that, right? So that is such an eye-opening experience and such an easy call to make. So if you made 5 of those a week, guaranteed those are going to turn into hot prospects, right?
Exactly. Another thing I used to do, people used to laugh at me, but it always worked. I was in a position where when I was a full-time recruiter, I was also in charge of acquisitions and mergers for the company. And so, we would acquire, offices, and typically I was in that office for a period of time, as a recruiter to build that office up. And so the first thing I always said to the agents every time I went to a new office, I'd say, so here's how it works. I am here for anything you need. Okay, if you have anything at all that you need, okay, just come in and ask me. Okay, and then if I have anything that I need, I'll ask you, right?
Right.
And, okay. So then the agent would come in, and John would come in, and John, I had a problem. I need you. Great. Let me help you out. And I'd help him out. And they'd be like, thank you so much. I go, great. I actually need your help on something, John. And they, sure. What is it? And I say, I want you to just think of the current transactions that you've got going right now. Who do you enjoy working with the most? Like if we were going to invite them to join our team, who would that be right now? And then they would tell me. Well, then after a while, they'd figure out this. It was always like, look, every single time an agent walked through my door and said, I need help, I'd always respond with, I need help too, write down the name of an agent. After a while, they would just walk in the door of my office with the agent's name and number. They walk in and go, I need some help, and here's your agent.
You had a little pay for play there going on.
Here's your agent. But again, I used to tell them, look, I can go out there and randomly pick people that I think are a good fit. I'd honestly rather invite people to join that you enjoy working with. So I'll always go that route first, and that typically made sense for them. I think right now another great campaign to look at is basically a comeback campaign, meaning that as a broker, I would be on the phones calling every agent who left in the last 3 years, as long as they left on terms that you would want them back on, which isn't always the case. But when we go back 3 years ago, pre-pandemic, the market was really, really strong. And sometimes when markets are really, really strong, agents think, hey, you know what? I don't need all the support. I don't need all the stuff. I'm going to move. Next thing they know, they made a move to maybe a company with less support. Pandemic hit, boom, shut down. Then by the time everybody scrambled around and things opened up, then they've been crazy busy. But again, a new awareness is out there with agents. And so to pick up the phone just to say, hey, you know, what's happened in 3 years since you and I worked together. I always enjoyed working with you. At the time, I understood that you felt you needed to go off on your own, or you needed to go try something new. How's it working? Because honestly, we'd love to have you come back. And for that emotional decision maker, which is about 80% of the agents, they need to be invited back because they all think that you hate them because they left. You know, they're just like, oh, I'm sure they like hate me, right? But you'll find that a lot of them will come back. And right now, I think is the perfect time for that, as, again, so much is still going on. There's still a lot of uncertainty, and agents are seeing the need for tools and support more than many other times in their career.
Yeah, make that an emotional connection, right? I mean, that's so important.
Exactly. Let's see what else we got. So as we mentioned, you know, just staying connected with those that you know is really more important. NAR shows that only 12% of agents stay connected to their client database, which is always sad. We talk about that a lot. But actually, research shows that fewer brokers stay connected to the agents that they want, and you know, which is really surprising. But sometimes, you know, as a broker, you're not on a daily basis thinking, what can I do to stay connected to people that I want in the marketplace? You know, you got this little time slot that says, okay, Tuesday from 2 to 3, I need to do something recruiting wise. And then you're making all the calls, or you're doing some things then, and then you get busy, and it's another week or two before you're doing something else. So consistency right now, build the relationship, stay connected. You know,
All those things you tell your agents to do.
oh, yeah, really. That's the best way to put it, Julie. Thank you. Everything you're telling your agents to do right now is exactly what you as a broker and
do as I do and do as I say, right? So,
you know, and you know, I don't know if a lot of these people have reached out to you recently, Julie, but a lot of the clients that I'm working with that I'm coaching that are members of our Profit Recruiter program have been telling me over the past 6 months that they are getting tons of response back from the people, the agents that they're sending it to. Their own agents are being appreciative of the fact that they have that Profit Recruiter newsletter to send out to their clients to stay connected. But, you know, in a world that everything we see on the news and everything that you hear, I mean, you're just surrounded by so much negativity, so much fear,
yep.
So much decisiveness. And I really didn't think about it until someone pointed it out to me. It's like, no matter what's going on, every Monday morning, there's this positive message that comes from you guys that I'm able to share with my agents. And so therefore, I'm looking like the hero because my agents need it as well.
Yep.
So, again,
and they're calling us and telling us, you know, that they get a call from somebody that's been on their list for, you know, a year and a half, who just says, wow, I really needed to hear what you had to say today. You know, I just, that was the catalyst for picking up the phone. You know, right. It makes, I know you are as well, but I think making anything we can do to help make the job of picking up that phone easier
right.
and more consistent, we're all in. So, you know, what's nice about the Monday emails, and what's nice about the lumpy letters and the recruiting letters and all of the different, when we tell you, okay, go in once a day and go into an agent's LinkedIn, both one of your agents and one of your prospects, go under their LinkedIn and, you know, put a positive review. You know, if just these little steps, that makes those phone calls so much easier because everything is warm for you. It's not a cold call, right? If they've been getting a Monday email from you for a month, you know, that's not a cold call. You can call to say, hey, you know, I've been sending that. You know, I hope the messages are timely for you. I just calling to reach out and see how you're doing and let you know we're here for you, you know, whatever you need. So, and that is really what nobody wants, especially during this past craziness. Nobody wants to be sold these days. Nobody wants to be hard closed, you know, or techniqued, as they say. You know, people want to connect with people that who care about them. And I know you've talked about that a million times, and that, you know, that relationship, that trust, that comfort level, that taking down some of those walls so that people know, oh, you know what, this is a good person. This is a good company. Like, I'm going to be taken care of here. They care more. They don't just care about the transaction. Right. And that's where That's where a lot of people get caught up, as agents do and brokers do, and that we get transaction minded, right? Oh, I got to get the next transaction. I got to get the next recruit. I've got to get the next listing, right? I've got to get the next sale. That's a transactional fee, not just a transactional mentality, but on the person on the other end can feel that disconnect, whereas if we are genuinely being human beings and connecting with people and having those conversations as human beings, they can feel that, right? So both are true.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, just don't think that you got to go out and spend a ton of money and get all these, like invest in a lot of other things. For most of you that are on the call, you're already profitable recruiter members. But sometimes I find that our members, again, they just forget to systemize it. They forget to set up in their CRM or something like iContact. And so the letters aren't going out, or they forget that you also send them out to your own agents for retention purposes, and that you encourage your agents to copy paste it and send it on to their clients. So really you have a marketing piece that can be used 3 different ways that you already have in place. And just that, staying connected on a weekly basis with a positive message during an uncertain time is definitely going to give you a lot of mileage from the relationship standpoint.
Absolutely.
Let's see, what do we have next?
Now, you did say Exact Recruiter, so I am going to put in the chat. We do have 60 days free as profitable recruiter members. If you're a profitable recruiter member, you can get 60 days free of Exact Recruiter.
Yes.
So I'm going to put that link in the chat to everyone.
Thanks, Joy.
You're welcome. All righty,
so
go ahead.
So what's happening in the market? Okay. It is true, okay, that virtual business models experienced their largest growth this past year. And it was interesting to watch, it was interesting to watch those that were really upset about watching that growth. But it certainly makes sense. If I have a virtual platform where I have to, convince agents of the possibility and the value of working from home. Prior to COVID, that was a pretty hard sale. And I've worked with brokers that would just like, the agents need to know they have that office to come into. They want to be able to meet their clients somewhere. Once it wasn't an option, then the virtual business models out there, that was their day. Okay, I'm sure that they spent all the resources and all the time and all their efforts basically with the message of, look, see, it works. You're working from home, everything's great, meetings are online, trainings are online, your communication with your broker's online, everything's online, so therefore there's not the need for the bricks and mortar office that you always thought you had to have. Now, for some agents, they made that mental transition. There's no doubt about it. Some agents have decided that, you know what, this works for me, and I like that model. I'm also seeing some agents who switched to the virtual model during the last 15 months who are now moving back to the office, like an actual brick and mortar office, because it wasn't the right fit for them. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next year or two. Of course, we could be in a shutdown again, who knows? But there's no doubt that business model had a lot of growth in the past year because they were able to show agents that it's possible, and many decide to try it out.
It's funny, for a lot of top producers, Judy, that the virtual model really made sense for them because they could get so much more done in less time, right? So I know some top agents where, that was a dream. They did everything via Zoom. They sent over their buyer's agency, via DocuSign. They sent, they did a virtual tour, virtual listing presentation. They rocked it, and they saved themselves, hours driving somebody around in a car. Right? So it's for a lot of, especially top agents, it was a blessing because they got to do so much more in less time. But you're right. I think we're going to totally see a hybrid here. I think agents do want space You know, a lot of people are tired of, vacationing in the backyard, right? You know, I mean, it's been I think the real winners in the pandemic were dogs, right? Dogs definitely made out because their people were home all the time. Now the cats didn't like it so much. They're like, yeah, you guys can leave anytime. But I think the real winners were dogs. But
children, toddlers, people, they're like, wow, look at that. Mom and dad never leave the house.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, so there were some winners, no doubt. But basically, based on that, the same thing that, like all the children and dogs or whatever thought, wow, isn't this great?
It's hard to work.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship. It's like, oh, geez. So now it's like, okay, now I need to get away and get back to an office somewhere. So I think right now brokers need to focus and work harder than ever to recreate that culture that was present pre-pandemic, the environment. But you also have to be willing to change how you're going to work and how agents work moving forward. No doubt that we're going to see a hybrid model for agents as well as support staff surface. Now, again, long term, will it stay in place? Not really sure. So if we look at the business world, who made the decision to take their support staff off site and have the majority of them working from home, businesses have discovered that that isn't working, and they've had to, there's just this week starting to bring them back. Will the real estate offices discover the same thing? Not sure. I do know that a lot of brokers have taken some of their support staff and allowed them to work virtually, either full-time or virtually part-time, remove them from the offices. Will the brokers discover that they need to bring that staff back and have them present in the office? They may. Or again, maybe a little bit of each. One support person's working, as a hybrid person, the other's in there full-time. But as a broker, the most important thing is be open and watch the changes and be open to what's needed to keep your support staff as well as your agents happy. For example, if your support staff is offsite and your agents are unhappy, and you lose an agent because your support staff's offsite, then you don't save any money there. You're going to lose way more money by losing just one agent. So you have to at all times think in terms of, what do I need to do in order to keep the agents productive and happy? But I do think that that's kind of a hybrid model.
It's really it's a time to practice agility, right? Both as agents and as brokers. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a time more important to practice agility and open-mindedness and really being
right.
to be a learner, right? So there's so much to learn, a lot of agents were already up to speed with technology. Technology was their thing, so it wasn't as sharp a learning curve as it was for other agents. And the same is true of brokers. But so we have to be willing to lean in and learn new things and try new things on for size. And because not only is that important for your businesses, it's important to set that example for your agents to show them, okay, I'm not afraid. I'm gonna dive into this technology. So come on in, the water's fine. So I think it really is important to model some of that for your team and for your prospects.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm going to show you some examples here in a minute, with regard to the hybrid model for agents. But no doubt, technology is the hot button right now, because technology is what's driving the industry, regardless of what's happening in the world. Okay. So technology is necessary for our clients to be able to purchase properties when they're in another state, or sometimes they can't even see the property, but they have to buy it sight unseen. Technology is used obviously for selling the properties, for viewing the properties, but it's what agents are looking for. So from a recruiting and retention standpoint, all of your technology has to have a purpose, which is to support that industry. I still think we're going to see, if you're reconfiguring your space, take a look, give some thought into, are there certain agents that want to be socially distant? And, how about our meetings? Okay. Do we still cram everybody into one room, or again, do we use technology and let people be in that meeting from home as well as in the office at the same time with fewer people gathering together? And so I think brokers and agents, as you were just saying, Julie, have to be experts at, basically that online team and client engagement, video communication, Zoom, going the extra mile. It has that it's not going to go away. I mean, we're
sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? So
that's right, yeah.
That means you're growing, you're changing.
And I just think it, like right now, if for agents entering the real estate industry, it's probably easier for them because they didn't do it the other way for so long.
Right.
But I do think a lot of our agents that have been in the business for a long time that we're talking to right now are still really struggling with many of the changes and how fast they've taken place. And to a degree, some of the agents have got in the back of their mind, and they'll even make statements such as, I can't wait for it to get back to the way that it was. And I'm just not sure that's going to happen.
Right.
So that, just so you know, I think we're going to see a lot of agents retiring in the next 5 years. Some agents who are basically at that age, who we've had a really strong market for several years, are positioned to retire. The idea of continuing to work in this manner moving forward, for many of them, I think, is the final straw. It's just time to enjoy life and everything that I've worked so hard to have.
Well, on that note, Judy, one of the topics that you teach all the time is teaching brokers how to offer to agents how to build businesses they can sell, right? So a lot of agents may want to retire, but they're not really positioned to. So maybe that should be our next webinar is setting up a Zoom here with a GoToMeeting with our members, teaching them how to teach their agents, what they need to do to position themselves to retire or to leave, because that way that's such a better model for the agent and for the broker, right? There's no surprises. People aren't just jumping out of an industry that they spent 20 years at, so giving them an opportunity to leave with financial stability and to help another agent succeed faster and to really build those mentor and protege relationships. So I think maybe that should be our next topic. What do you think?
Well, let's do it, and if you've got some comments on that, you want to put them in the chat line, and for Julie, definitely do that. We haven't talked about that for a while, and the reason was that, and I've seen this cycle for the last 20 years in real estate, the stronger the market, the less likely it is that the agent will retire unless forced to for some reason, because it's just so easy to stay in, right? When you've been a long time and you got all your friends, clients, everybody knows you, and they're just going to buy or list their house with you, and you're going to make $10,000 by, putting that deal together. I talk to agents who are just like it's so hard to get out, right? Because the money's so easy. But every time, so when we hit that, and the market crashed in 2006, okay, we saw a huge exodus of agents who were able to retire at that time that just said, look, flipping properties, REOs, all this bank foreclosure stuff, I'm done, I'm out of there, so they're out. I think the pandemic knocked some people out without a doubt, but I think now, like I said, that moving forward, it's not going to go back to the way it was. A lot of changes have taken place in the way that we do business for some of the agents who are at that retirement age, who didn't grow up with technology. Those of us that have to really work at all the technology, it just makes sense that if you've got the money to retire, you're going to start seeing that now.
Awesome. So we're almost through. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to use that Q&A panel there to ask any questions you might have. We'll take as many as we can.
Another big thing, Julie, is we're already seeing this. A lot of mergers and acquisitions starting to take place right now. I do see the strong getting stronger, the big getting bigger, and a lot of small offices not surviving the next 5 years. They're not if they're not willing to, or they can't make the investments into technology or whatever it takes to attract agents in. They're in trouble. So again, a lot of those business owners of those small businesses been around for a long time, so they're looking for their own exit strategy. I've also just recently started to hear a lot of agents saying that the at-home distractions are driving them back to the office.
Driving them crazy too.
Yeah, and you know what? Some agents have more distractions at home than others. So now what we've got is, if they've got a place to go back to, it's just like, okay, I need to get out of the house. The dogs and the kids and everything else is just, it's just too much. So that office space, we're seeing that if you've got an office, top producers, especially those with teams, in many cases need that space. But where I said before, that hybrid agent, having an agent that basically is an at-home agent, but also has that shared space in the office to collaborate with others, meet their clients in high-tech conference rooms for presentations, things like that. That this, I think, looks like the office of the future, not necessarily that every single agent is working in it, but a lot of, hybrid agents, and then a lot of agents who do actually, need that office for working and for clients.
Awesome.
The other thing about physical locations is we, studies are being done that show what's the value of that physical location versus the virtual model that, again, became really popular this last year. A lot of brokers really feel that they have to maintain that community presence in order to support consumer confidence, and I totally get that. There is still a lot of value in networking with colleagues, talking through challenges, and again, just escaping. So I don't think you have to worry about your physical location, on the way out. Physical locations are definitely still very valuable. Again, there's just an alternative now. But as you're looking at your existing office and you're bringing agents back, make sure that you're creating a safe space for clients and agents that want it, right? And on that note, I'll just insert in here right now, just be really careful about stating your strong opinions on who should or should not be vaccinated, who should or should not be afraid to wear a mask. The whole COVID thing, the vaccination thing, the mask thing, all of that is a very personal choice topic, meaning that everybody should be able to make the choice that they feel is right for them, and really not judge others. And I think that I heard a scenario recently where a recruit was made to feel as though, they were, it's kind of like, so what's wrong with you, and they were made to feel uncomfortable by wanting to wear the mask, even when they came into the office. And if that happens, that agent's going to leave and go somewhere else. So be respectful of the way everyone feels right now. We're still in an environment to where some people are still nervous being amongst a lot of people, or coming into an office. So if you have the ability to do that, definitely look at that.
Well, it's a great time for everybody to give grace, right? I've said it before today. This is really a good time to practice empathy and, honor people where they are, and we don't have to be. People do need a safe space. We can honor human beings for being human, and you don't know what everybody's story is, right? So some people are more careful because they've got a small child at home, or an elderly person, or whatever their reasons are or are not, right, for whatever they're doing. You're as their broker, it's not conducive to your business to be judge and jury. It's not conducive for a thriving culture of acceptance and inclusion.
Right.
And that's really what, long before COVID, right? I mean, those things we should be striving for, regardless of what's happening in the world, is to be inclusive and to show grace and kindness and thoughtfulness to our team members, our staff, our prospects. Everybody needs to feel like they're seen and they're heard, and they're acknowledged, and I just think that's never been more important than it is right now.
I totally agree. So we won't talk too much about this. We already basically did, my recommendation is, look at a model that, combines on-site training, meetings, conferences, et cetera, with also the ability for agents to virtually attend, and technology obviously is going to continue to drive those. really efficient, cutting-edge real estate transactions, and allowing agents and clients to conduct business virtually. I mean, this is our world moving forward, I believe. We'll see. Who knows?
Right.
But I think as a broker right now more than ever, I would definitely be creating that culture of care, personal coaching, support services for the work from home agent as well as the agent that's in your office. So, support both, right?
Mhm.
Let agents choose what they want.
Excellent.
And kind of as a final word here, okay, which, when it comes to worry, it's funny because sometimes people will, they'll really stressed out about something and they'll share it with me. And I always just simply say, let me ask you something. Is there anything you can do that's going to fix that situation? Like you have the power to create the cure, right? And they'll say no. And I go, so if you can't control it, then why are you fretting and worrying about something that is out of your control? Okay. Because you can't fix what you can't control. And I think as an industry, that's what, that's the big message as we are, at this point is that as a broker, you got to stay focused on your office, your level of support, your team, what you do well. You can't fret and worry about what you can't fix or what you can't control because there is so much going on right now in the world that many people are upset about. People, they're not happy about. The reality is much of it can't be fixed or controlled by us, right? The only thing we can do is take a look at what's happening and how it's impacting our business and spend our time, kind of fixing and controlling what it is that we can. And that's what 2020 proved is we can do anything.
Yep. We have more resilience than we thought.
We are, aren't they?
Well, it brought people together. I mean, even though people were apart, it really brought them together because there was so much common ground, and that people were concerned about one another and caring about one another, and really so many agents dove into and brokers drove into really celebrating and serving communities, that weren't in trouble. And I think that was an amazing thing that came out of the last year is that recommitment to serving communities that, we've served clients a lot, we've served agents a lot, but to really take a deep dive and serve communities as a whole and use some of that language, I think was really powerful last year.
Exactly. Great. Do we have questions from any of our audience members, Julie?
Not so far. Matt says, thank you. Howard says, hello.
Hey, Howard.
Any questions, use that Q&A panel or the chat and ask us any questions. We're gonna get finished up here in just a moment. We're attending today. We're always excited to see you guys on the line. We are going to be recording this and putting it in the Profitable Recruiter platform. So you'll see that up there. If you guys are not currently a Profitable Recruiter member, we invite you to join us by going to theprofitablerecruiter.com. And you can use the code 50OFF to get 50% off any of your memberships. And I'll put that in the chat as well.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, as always, for hosting it.
No problem. It's always fun. Always great to talk to you.
Yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been an interesting time, but excited for what the future holds, and I think there's a lot of opportunities out there right now.
I've put that in the chat. It sounds like nobody has questions. So it's a quiet group today. Feel free to reach out to us at any time as well at theprofitablerecruiter.com. You can use the contact form there and reach out to us with any questions you might have. And on that note, thank you, Judy, for your time today, always being the coach with the most in the recruiting world. So pleasure to see you. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, everybody. We wish you all a wonderful day and a safe and happy rest of your August. Go out there and get them, because one thing we've learned is recruiting season is always right now, because we are in such a state of change. So go out there with your best foot forward, practice these best practices, lead with kindness and with openness. Let people know who you are, and we are here for you.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.